just absolutely horrendous.
All right, it's recording. So this is
Okay.
Doug Cubison at the Wyoming Veterans Museum. We are sitting here in Daylight Donuts in Du Bois, Wyoming, and I'm talking with Daniel Nowlin about his Vietnam War experience. And Daniel, normally the way we do this, we just talk.
Okay.
I don't have questions. I don't interrogate anybody. We just sit here and yak and talk. And
Sounds good.
you know, and normally I let the veterans tell their own story. And if I want to ask questions to elaborate or to explain something, then I kind of step in. But basically, I just let you guys talk. So, so the first thing we'll ask is just, tell me about your life growing up and how you ended up getting drafted and in the military.
Well, I was born in Fort Wasky, Wyoming. I grew up in this area, not too far from here, about 20 miles, on a ranch. I went to school here, and then I transferred to Ohio. I helped my mom move, and in 1965, my friends and neighbors chose me to serve our country. I don't know which friends and neighbors they were, but I'd like to get even. But I received my draft notification when I was in Massachusetts and had to report to a draft board in Cleveland, Ohio. From there, I went to basic training in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Took my advanced infantry in Fort Jackson, and shortly thereafter, I found myself in Long Binh, just outside of Saigon.
Mm-hmm. Now, when did you arrive in Vietnam? Do you remember?
Oh, it was just prior to Thanksgiving in 1966, I believe.
Right in the middle of the war, then.
Pretty much, yeah. It had started to escalate at that point.
Okay.
Went from Long Binh to Tay Ninh province, which is toward the Cambodian border, around the Parrot's Peak,
Right.
around the Black Virgin Mountain, Nui Ba Dinh.
Mm-hmm.
I served there doing search and destroy and all kinds of sweeps and blocking force for the Big Red One and a lot of other units that were operating in the area at that time.
I have here you were with Company A, 3rd of the 21st, 196th Light Infantry Brigade.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we were an air mobile unit, and I got to see a lot of the country.
So you're like independent air cav then, basically.
Well, almost. I mean, we did a lot of ground operations, probably more so than 7th Cav or something. I think they would go in and come out. We went in and stayed in an area for quite a while and tried to clean it up. We went into Cambodia. It was never published, but we were probably 2 miles inside of Cambodia. One of the scariest nights I've ever had over there. Number one, we didn't know if units would come in and grab us if we got into a mess. Of course, the captain didn't know either, so he was a little nervous, I could tell.
Well, how did you end up in Cambodia? Was it...
Just a mistake. They dropped us off. We helicoptered in.
Right.
They dropped us off, and we found out that we were we had gone and made an incursion into Cambodia.
Minor error in navigation.
It's, those things happen.
Yeah, and there's no established border or anything.
No,
It's just...
no, you couldn't tell. I mean, it was jungle down there, which I did not like the jungle. The spiders are bigger than the people, and there's a lot of snakes and weird stuff in there. But we did get out of there. We got shot at a couple of times, but luckily, we didn't land in any major units that were operating out of there. NVA or Vietnam. At that time, we went into what they call the Boloi Woods, I think is what it was. It was a great big rubber plantation.
Okay.
And we lost 8 guys out of our platoon. We were doing road sweeping through the woods. It was one of those roads that you can take a left fork or a right fork. My lieutenant looked at me. I weighed 100, probably 25 pounds at the time. I was carrying the M60 machine gun, and he asked. He says, "Well, you want to go ahead and head on back? We don't have too far to go." And he and I and part of the platoon went back. Well, the guys that didn't go back got ambushed, and all but I think 3 of them were killed in that ambush. It was a strange time down in Tanyan. I mean, we lost quite a few guys. Guy and I had flipped for the machine gun carrying the M60, and I say, fortunately, he won and he became a specialist 4th class. But we were doing a sweep across rice paddies, and I was his ammo bearer. And the first thing they did was they ambushed us, and he got shot standing right beside me. I was fast, not too smart, but very quick, especially when the rounds started popping. But he lived, you know. Thank God. He was from Waterville, New York.
Oh, yeah. Okay, near Albany.
Yeah.
Waterfleet, yeah.
So I've never gotten in touch with him, but I want him to know that I did call for a medic, and I stuck my head up very briefly to hear him moan, and then our captain came by and he said, "Charge." And I looked over at him and I said, "What are you, some kind of a nut?" The rounds were popping off the dike right in front of me. But you know what? I got up and we charged, by golly. That was just something that you did. So just before that, though, the first ambush I went out on, they dropped a friendly round, dropped right in the middle of our ambush site, and killed a guy.
You said that was the white phosphorus.
White phosphorus, yeah.
Just
Burnt the hell out of everybody in the.
Is it like a mortar?
Yes, that's
short
what
mortar?
it was.
Okay.
We were very short. And it's funny because as my time in country progressed, I got to the point where I could hear one of those damn things coming. I mean, you just hollered short round, and the new guys were always on top of the pile, and I was always underneath the pile. So, I wasn't too smart, but boy, I was quick. You know? That was it.
You said you were a E4 specialist and you arrived in country?
No, I was private.
Oh, you were private?
Oh, yeah. Good Lord. All of our older guys were either rotating out or, we lost quite a few. So I didn't have a lot of time in country, but I had more experience than most. Especially as we're getting into the 6th, 7th month over there. Everybody had come back to the States, one form or another. Then we moved from there to a place called Chulai. And we weren't right in Chulai because that was a Marine base, but we were on a couple of mountains surrounding that area. So it was quite a different area because that's almost in the highlands, and those are, when you're humping ammo, those are mountains.
Yeah.
We did that. I lost a very dear friend in that area. It's one of those things where I talked to a psychiatrist because even to this day, I remember Ray. His name was Ray Mashburn, and he got killed. He was setting out a Claymore mine, and the VC were coming through, or NBA, I don't know what it was, but they shot him, and I just, so much, why the hell him and not the rest of us? You just don't know. But we had a short ceremony for him. And I remember standing out on a little knoll, and the chaplain was going through the names. And to this day, I hate the sound of taps.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the honor guard here in Du Bois, but there are some times when they have it that I just can't.
Yeah.
You know, I can't do it.
Just associate.
That's it. Yeah.
Too much association.
Yeah. I talked to a psychiatrist here at the clinic in Riverton, and he said we always feel really guilty about things that we actually have no control.
Yeah.
And I thought about that for quite a while, and you know, I realize he's right, but it's not something that really ever goes out of your mind.
Right.
It just doesn't, you know. The strange things you remember. And I told you before, you know, this fella and I were walking along. He fell down into a little ravine into a bunch of Vietnamese, and of course we were in an area where it was fair game to shoot
You said
anything.
basically a free fire zone.
It was. And he really went nuts. He didn't know whether to tell him to go, stay. You know, I mean,
Suddenly surrounded by
all of a
35
sudden,
civilians.
all of a sudden there's people like grouse springing out, and we chased one old feller down. We could have, rightfully, we could have shot anybody in there. We didn't. And that was, I was really proud of our unit at that point, because there were some people who hated the Vietnamese. And I guess, you know, that's part of your training, is to
Right.
consider people a little less than human. And we never got really to that point. It isn't that we would not shoot, because boy, we loaded a lot of rounds in. But I also found out one thing over there is we got ambushed one night, and I think there were probably 6, maybe 8 of us in the squad. And we opened fire back on the area where they were shooting at us from, and called in a armored personnel carrier. They came down with their 50 and helped clear out the people who were shooting at us. But during that melee, there was a baby that was shot. We killed a water buffalo. You know, I mean, it was absolutely just bad area to be in at the time. But the next day, the very next day, I had to go down to that village, talk to the mother, and what the hell, Sin Loy, that was the Vietnamese, it was the only Vietnamese I knew. And what was really sad is, geez, I felt bad about the baby. But you know what? I really felt sad about the freaking water buffalo.
Oh, that's.
I never understand why that was, but
Yeah.
but it was. That was just something that happened there. I dug graves up, and after we moved up above toward Laos from Da Nang, I guess. That was an experience that I told a lieutenant that I didn't expect him to answer, to ask me to do that. You know, just wasn't in my job description.
Right.
I didn't mind stirring the crap in the barrels that we burnt. There were a lot of things I did that were distasteful, but that was one of the worst. I got to experience what a tunnel rat goes through. This poor young fella and I got elected because we were both very small people. Mm-hmm. We crawled down into a tunnel, and we got back in there quite a ways, and excuse me, I kept noticing water droplets on the ceiling and on the walls. Mm-hmm. And finally I got smart enough to where I shined the light up on these water droplets, and I found that they were spiders with a body about the same diameter as maybe a silver dollar.
Ugh.
Well, I told that kid behind me, I said, you know, I said, I'm going to get the hell out of here. And he got to ask, I think I got part of why before I stampeded over him and got the hell out of that tunnel. And He did see him finally, but it was after I left him, and I was in front of him going in, but I was sure as hell in front of him going out. It was just the oddest thing. Oh, God. So, we had there were some really terrible times, but then there were times when you get a weird sense of humor. We were going along on a search and destroy mission, and we got, I heard the lieutenant's radio saying, we got a snake back here that we need to shoot. What the hell you want to shoot a snake for? This is stupid. Well, it turned out that it was about a 25, 30-foot constrictor.
Lord. Oh, my Lord.
And they shot, and of course, knowing the Army and their pistol shooting, the guy missed. So the snake started coming down the trail. Well, there's only one guy over there that was more afraid of snakes and spiders than me, and it was my second lieutenant. He picked me up by my elbows and uses me as a ram through the brush, getting the hell out of the snake's way. That old snake, he didn't want any trouble at all. He was just trying to get away from these crazy people. That was what it was. But the Vietnamese people, I did get to attend it was a village chief's dinner. And the second lieutenant didn't want to go alone, so he asked if I would attend.
By now you were a squad
leader.
leader.
I was invited to go along, but you would have laughed because we got there and I could speak a little bit of French, very little. I asked him what his name was, and he told me in French, and he also told me he was the head of the village. But we ate things there that I don't know what it was. I have no idea. I have a feeling it might have been cat, because cats were just really, top of the line food in some of those areas. I know there were little bugs that we ate, but it all tasted fairly good. We came across some Vietnamese that were eating fish and rice. I love rice. So after we chased them off their stew pot, and they were Viet Cong, I think. After we chased them off their stew pot, of course I helped myself to the rice. I didn't eat the fish because the heads weren't cut off and they weren't cleaned.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was all right meal. I was We had some guys that would eat the fish too, heads
probably
on.
A nice break from sea rations.
The sea rations were one thing in sea rations I would not eat ever again was the eggs and ham and eggs. That was.
Those were vile.
Well, after I dug up those graves, and it was a lady and a young child, basically. Was the first thing.
Were you looking for intelligence?
We were, yes. Okay. Basically, we were trying to uncover why they died. And it was evidently a bomb concussion because I found no evidence of any wounds at all, from shrapnel or anything else. Like I said, that I didn't like to do that. That was one thing about the lieutenants I had. They were damn good people. I mean, we had some, I guess, that came over that were going to set the world afire. The only thing I think they succeeded in doing is probably getting their men shot or hurt or just there.
Were your NCOs like West Pointers or ROTC or OCS or just kind of a mix?
We had kind of a mix. One of the best ones came out of West Point. He was really good. He listened. He wanted to learn. He went back whole. I don't know about his second or third tour or how many tours he had, but he was really good. And we had some out of OCS that were absolutely excellent too. I mean, we were a very fortunate unit in the fact that we got people in who were great. I mean, they listened. They were just good people and really concerned about their troops. You know, when you go in and you're in base, they would eat first. When you're out on an operation, the troops ate first. That was the way it was. And that's the way they had been taught, and that's the way they were. And God bless their hearts. You know, that was it. I had one second lieutenant, unfortunately got into a bunch of leeches. Well, we all had leeches on us. But he got it on his male anatomy, and oh, it wasn't so bad. He had a whole platoon of people that were willing to offer advice and to get that leech off.
Yeah,
You know?
I'll bet.
It ended up that he did, I guess he burned it off, I'm not sure. I sort of chuckled when that happened. Yeah, it was quite an experience. Like I said, it's something that, damn it, we did good. We really did good. I don't think the United States, any units, lost a battle over there. I mean, as far as losing,
Right.
I think, you know, when the politicians became involved, then they started going downhill because I don't know if there were still free fire zones after I left or not, but
Yeah,
I
you were
tend to
there.
doubt.
You were there pretty early when you were fortunate that the
Yes,
Army officer and NCO Corps hadn't really been depleted so quite
that's
so
correct.
badly.
Yeah, we had the first sergeant. We had come down through, and damn it, it was just sad. We shot a young feller, probably 14, 15 years old, and you know, you always hated to do stuff like that. It happened though, and it was pretty long distance that we were shooting, so had no idea who the hell it was. We knew that they were carrying weapons though,
So fair
yeah,
target.
It was just
Now, did you have any idea, were you fighting VC, NVA, or?
both.
Okay.
Yeah, we ran into both.
Could you tell the difference, or?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Took my squad out one day, and we had been out that night in an ambush. Well, part of us went off and sort of cleared the way and watched as we were coming back toward camp. And there were probably, I don't know, between 12 and 20 guys dressed in khakis. Now that definitely wasn't.
You know
VC.
they're NVA, yeah.
They were NVA. We were instructed to open fire, just a few of us. And we opened fire. I think we got the head honcho, the guy that was sitting down, sort of directing everything. But you know, we never saw a body. I mean, they pretty well took care of those who got shot.
Just like you guys used to do against the cavalry.
Well, basically, yeah.
You recover your
That
dead.
was it.
You always
We
recover your
always
dead.
did.
Yeah.
And the only time that we actually saw a bunch of bodies is we had sprung an ambush outside of July. And the worst part of that is I didn't mind seeing the bodies. Just sort of goes with what you're trained.
Right.
I'll tell you what I did mind. I was walking along, and this girl was covered up with a poncho, or I don't know what the hell it was. But all I could see was her feet sticking out from under that. And she had very large feet. But that really bothered me. And I still have that pop into my head every once in a while. And why? I guess it's because it's impersonal. You know, we had killed probably 8 or 10 of them right in that area. I know we had one guy walk right in front of us. We found his shirt, and it had holes from one end of it to the other, but we never
And the Afghans today do the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just amazes me.
Yeah.
But we ambushed him in the middle of the night, Like I said, we found a shirt.
That'll be nice.
We found blood trails of 4 or 5 different people. We had a guy that got lost from our patrol that night. I had to go back out and find him. On the way back out to find him, of course, we jumped to VC, and these were VC. Scared them the hell out of there, and they ran back up into our ambush. That scared the hell out of me because, boy, you hear those Americans open up, and you think, holy crap, these guys are giving no quarter. I mean, they were tough. I served with some of the bravest, most honest, hard-drinking son of a guns that you'll ever serve with, black and white, and Native American, and I have a whole lot of respect for all people. Don't understand what's going on today. I guess I never will. I think one of the bravest guys I know was a fellow by the name of Bonds. He was a sergeant already, and that time when we lost 8 guys in the rubber plantation, boy, he stayed there and he opened up on him, and he had a run and gun fight through those woods. I mean, I just so much respect for that guy. I don't know what the hell he's doing today, or if he's still alive
Have you
or
ever
not.
had a chance to go to any unit reunions or anything like that?
You know what? I think I have only seen one 196th Light Infantry Brigade reunion total. And that's from 1966 to 2015.
Wow.
Like I said, it wasn't a unit when it was a unit when it went over, but most of those guys were over there, and hell, by the time I got there, they were coming back. We were air mobile, so I saw a lot of that country, a lot of it. Some of it was just beautiful. The jungle was not my favorite because you'd be there and it'd be just as dark could be, and all of a sudden everything would go quiet. You have those, they're like our cicadas.
Yeah.
Make a noise that just drive you nuts, and then all of a sudden they'd all
When
stop.
things go quiet, that's never
And you
good.
think, holy crap, monkeys, there were monkeys in the jungle.
Huh.
Not my favorite place. I don't know
Well,
if
you hadn't grown up in any environment like that at all.
No, out here in Wyoming we had a
And
lot
had
of
you
trees and a lot
had
of
you received
space.
any jungle training before you?
Not really, no. I mean,
Okay.
they trained us as best they could for what